Afternoon, everyone. We're here in the Iowa House, State Representative Tracy Ehlert, and today I have guest Senator Todd Taylor with me and Clerk Truley. And we've been vaccinated, so we are safe to take our masks off for now to do this short segments, and then we'll put them back on. Today's topic is we're going to talk a little bit about some of the differences in the Iowa House and the Iowa Senate. And Senator Taylor has been in both, so he is not only represents the House district that I serve in, so I'm a constituent of his, but he has also served in both chambers. So I thought he would be the perfect guest to have on for this segment. And we'll let Truley lead with the questions to see what she'd like to find out about the differences.
Sure, sounds great.
Yeah, so how about the environment? Like, has the environment felt different in both? Like, are people as friendly in both? Do you like your colleagues as much in both? Like, I don't know, because the Senate has less folks. I feel like it's probably easier to get to know people better, build stronger relationships. But I don't know. Yeah. What do you think?
Well, I think that, first of all, thank you, Representative, for hosting this. This is a great opportunity. And I love the background. Clearly, we're up here on the second floor of the House of Representatives. Having served here for a number of years, 23, and now I'm over in the Senate for just 2 or 3 years now, I have noticed a lot of differences. Probably the first one, truly, as you said, is the sheer amount of people. You know, or if you look in the House, without COVID or the reduced staffing, you might have 100 reps, 100 clerks, 5 or 10 staffers, 4 or 5 press. You know, you're looking at almost 300 people in the room. And in the Senate, there's, probably less than half of that. And then, of course, this year, we do not have clerks with us in the Senate. My clerk does work from home remotely. We do a lot on Zoom. So there's physically a lot fewer people around in the Senate. And what that does is that it's certainly quieter. Right over here, you have to kind of adjust to getting your work done and manage interruptions. We have to manage interruptions over there too, but with fewer people, it's a lot easier to maybe just kind of focus and get your work done. Or maybe nowadays we'll put some headphones in. But so a lot fewer people is probably the first biggest thing we've noticed. We do have pages this year. We only have one like door security, and we just have the doors shut. But otherwise, there are usually about 4 people like that. And press, it has to be somewhere else. So that's the thing I've noticed as well.
Yeah. How about the legislative process over there? Do you think it's different because there are less people? More people get to voice their opinions, I'm assuming, in subcommittees and committees. How is that different for you?
Your committee sizes are a little bit different, right? And you guys don't have as many committees as in the House?
We have the exact same committees as far as like this, they match the House list and the Senate list. Oh, there may be back in the day we would have.
Only because I was on that before, so I
yes,
noticed
you would
one.
know. Well, and we may deal with those bills in another committee just called something else. But like over here, it might be Labor Committee. Over in the Senate, might be the Labor and Business Committee. 20 years ago, it was the Labor and Industrial Relations Committee. The other one's the Labor Committee. So it changes title. So generally they parallel. But like in the we have the budget making committee, Ways and Means for taxes, and then appropriations for spending. In the 50-member Iowa Senate, half of the members over there are on one or the other of the committee, and I happen to be on both this year. So we work on the fees and the taxes that you put in law, and then we figure out ways how the appropriations bill would spend them. So the committee makeup, as far as that question goes, 25 people would be on the Ways and Means Committee, 25 would be on the Appropriations Committee. So at some point, now in the House, of course, there's about 25 here as well. So a quarter of the room, half the room. I'm not sure that's significant. It's just that's an obvious difference.
Mm-hmm. So a lot more senators would know what's going on with the process and the Ways and Means and the Appropriations Committees versus over here. I really have no idea what's going on Ways and Means because not very many of us sit on it. So I get you could probably find out a little bit more what's going on over in the Senate.
In fact, let me give the House perspective of what you said exactly. I was on the Appropriations Committee, which is a big, powerful budget making committee here in the House for all of my years. I was just lucky when I first got there as a freshman, not knowing what I was doing. But it took me a decade to learn. Oh, are you going to publish this? No, it takes a while to learn these budgets. But in the Appropriations Committee, when I was in the House, I would get a chance to learn the details about a particular bill. Once in the subcommittee process of the appropriations, once in full appropriations committee, and then we would discuss it as a group in caucus, and then it would go to the floor. So by the time it got to the floor, as a Approps committee member, I might have had an opportunity to be familiar with the details for.
And we talked about that in one of our past segments that we did about the journey of the bill and all the different steps it goes through. Okay. So that's great that you talk about that too. Well,
and then let's take a person who's not on a Approps committee. The very first time they may be seeing the details of this particular spending bill, which is important to a lot of people, let's say. This is the first time is when they have to vote on it, up or down. Well, they would get the caucus, of course.
Yes.
The floor, but so that's an extra challenge. Now and then multiply that for the Ways and Means side of things. Like, should we increase the fee for a driver's license if you get it in another county? There's a fee, so that's a Ways and Means thing. It's not a big dollar figure, but it's important. So I got to see that in committee and full committee, and then on the floor and caucus. So it's access to the information and kind of like practice with the details.
So would you say you get the same amount of constituents reaching out as you did when you were a House member?
Well, that's a good one because I have twice as many constituents. So now certain, let's call them hot bills that generate a lot of constituent, inquiries, or letters, or emails, or phone calls, etc. Those might be common in both sides, and then we would share the constituents probably in that. So if you're a constituent and say, hey, I've got an issue about how we're going to do, allow bike trails to function or whatever, and that just happened today. That's why it's fresh in my mind. So I'm the constituent. I'm going to get a hold of Representative Ehlert. I'm going to get a Senator Taylor, because they both represent me, back home. So, but I think generally with 60,000 constituents, it's probably a little bit more. But I will say that, and I have been here since before computers, but when we didn't have computers, we got a lot more snail mail, and they would deliver mail to us like 2 times a day. Oh, wow. And a lot of times they'd be handwritten notes, or letters. Oh, I know, they're so important. We get a few of them now, but we would have file drawers and drawers filled with these, and then we'd have to go and type them up, our answers, because it wasn't electronic. But I do think that Zoom and the email and all this is getting a lot better too. That helps.
So for those listening that might not know, Senator Taylor used to hold the seat that I now hold in House District 70. Now that he is in the Senate, then he represents House District 70, and then he also represents House District 69, which is where Representative Bernie Marcourt holds office. So yes, so he doubled his constituent base. So probably a lot more constituent email.
Yeah.
Because I know how much I'm getting this year, and it's like tripled this year. So
like I said,
you need 2 clerks for yours, probably.
Issues. Yeah. I miss my clerk being. I do have a clerk, but she's not right next to me all the time, as I guess sometimes you guys are.
Yeah, they're the Senate this year with COVID. Their clerks, your clerks are strictly virtual, right? Strictly where ours virtual. Are a little bit of both.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I like that better than not at all.
Yeah.
And I should be fully vaccinated soon, so I might be able to come back before the end of session, which will be fun.
Yeah, I'm hoping so.
So would you find that you are giving your clerk like basically the same tasks, or are there different tasks now that you're in the Senate?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think they're pretty much the same tasks, like I say, on an issue, maybe I've got a lot on e-bikes or electric bikes. I may get a whole string of emails on them. So I'll have her develop a response that I write and then get it out to those folks, priority to those that are in the district. And that's the other thing too. Some of the kind of your questions are on correspondence or constituent inquiries, et cetera. I may receive, of course, my constituents are the number one priority, but I also might get inquiries or issues from people who aren't my constituent, but I am a key person on a committee.
Right.
So
like sitting on education,
exactly,
get
education applies everywhere. So you totally get that. But so I don't just respond to my constituents, but I do put a priority on them because you can get overwhelmed. And this is just a reality of email, et cetera. I think we delete obvious junk, like, do I want to buy a gas station, or whatever? Do I want to invest in some, just stuff like that. It's not constituent related. It's not real. It's spam or robo mail.
See some of that.
You definitely would see that. I think we delete about 650 of those every few days.
Oh, wow.
It's
definitely isn't like that. We must have a better junk filter.
And that's the thing. We could probably develop ours better because sometimes I just look at it and click. But then we would definitely sort those that are real folks, and then if they're in an area that's in my committee or something like that, then I will do that.
So your clerk is probably spending a lot more time addressing email and on the computer than maybe Truley is. Like, I have time to give Truley a lot of projects because I have half the amount of constituents you have in the House. So I bet that might be where it differs a little bit too in the House and the Senate. You might get to be learning about the process a little more because we get to do fun things like this, and develop them. Yeah. Where I bet Senator Taylor's clerk is spending a lot more time responding to constituents for him and helping him sort those emails.
Definitely.
But do you have the same clerk again?
Yeah.
You've had the same one for quite a few years, right?
Yes.
So she's probably really got a process down.
She does have a process down, which obviously helps me that she knows her job and knows what I need. Kind of the one thing that she can't do for me now, being off-site, is, hey, we're going to, instead of a 10 o'clock meeting, we're going to have that at 11:30. Okay, got it. Mental note. But she would go on there, hear that, and it shows up on my phone. So
grabbing bills for you all of a sudden need
absolutely.
And things like that.
I've worked the page crew heavy duty because they do that for me now. But I used to go to my desk and she'd say, here, this is your file for this committee. I'm like, all right. But we do have access on the computer. I have an iPad and a laptop. Depends on how much you want to carry up and downstairs. Yes. But no, that's an interesting point. She would also, so the disconnect between real-time changes, here's an amendment. Instead of stopping the wheels of the process so they can hand deliver an amendment, we may get it electronically, and then I can have it on my phone. And you got to, if it says, how they do, amend this bill by striking lines 1 through 4 and then these words in line 5. Well, you got to see the other one. And what is it we're talking about here? But you get used to how to do it.
So I don't know if this is just because of the circumstances this session, but I feel like the House is moving through bills a little bit quicker than the Senate. Is it always like that, or what's the difference in process there? What do you think's happening there?
That's a good question. And I will say that I think that, well, one, truthfully, every year is different, right? Yes. This year I've noticed that a few of the bills that kind of worked their way through after a couple of months, we're already doing them. And that is probably because of COVID, where we had an abbreviated session and then we came back and just finished everything up in a whirlwind. So a couple of bills that literally, they do need to go through a process that we started. And because there was an election in between, bills don't carry over. They will next year because there's not an election in between. But so when there's an election, bills have to start over. And so they filed them and we're debating them and passing them to the other chamber in what I would say record time.
Oh yeah.
Makes this year very unusual. So I definitely appreciate your question, but I think that my short answer is, this year's different,
Yeah, that's a fair answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is more of like a fun question, but what's your favorite committee to sit on?
Well, I want to say probably either transportation or ways and means. The reason for transportation is because it's very, very nonpartisan. I mean, we deal with things like e-bikes and, maybe the size of a trailer and the weight of a trailer on a special hauling, requirements. And that's very little have to do with Democrats, Republicans type thing. And Ways and Means would be my other, because it's new. Brand new for me. I've never been on Ways and Means, and to be on Ways and Means and Appropriations, those are the money in, money out committees kind of thing. I like that one because I'm learning new things all the time.
You probably understand the budget better too when you see what's coming in and what's going out.
Definitely.
It would be a lot of work because those committees are a lot of work, but I think it would help, for me anyways, help understand it a little bit more.
Definitely, that does help. Now being in the minority, one of the challenges is I'm not in the back rooms to where we get to set those numbers. With that knowledge, then I could see bigger pictures of it. But of course, like I said, over the years, kind of learning the appropriations process, how you build a budget, which by the way is the only thing we have to do up here. We have to do a budget. We don't have to raise the speed limit or lower the speed limit or whatever else we do. I don't even think that's a bill. I'm just using it as an example. But we have to do a budget. So to put that together, and we are at that stage of the session where we'll get going in earnest. But generally, I like my new committees.
So, did you sit on transportation when you were in the House?
No,
so that's they're both new. Have you sat on a committee both in the House and in the Senate that's been the same?
Yeah, the appropriate state government and labor would be parallel for all my years there and
the Senate. Do you find that they go through typically the same process? I mean, I know they have to, like subcommittee, committee, all that, but do they seem to be? Do you notice any differences between when you sat on them in the House versus now in the Senate?
Well, let's not lose sight of the fact the smaller group thing. It's a smaller group, so the same issue that might take a lot of homework or what are we really doing here, how see the impact is different with a smaller group, right? So maybe there's more discussion because it's easier because you don't have to compete with 24 other people. It's just like half that or a smaller group. If you go to subcommittee is 3 people. Of course, there's 3 people here as well. But I think that just may be part of it.
Committee, you could probably discuss them more. But then on the flip side, in the House, since we have so many more members in the committee, I feel like a lot more questions come up because you have that many more people having their interpretation of the bill and thinking of questions or spotting possible unintended consequences. So yeah, that's kind of,
I would agree with that because also, so maybe another factor or benefit from that is, so we'll have this discussion on it, but the timing of it doesn't take as long. We have fewer people to ask all those questions. Doesn't mean we don't think it through, okay? But that, I think I'm going to make this point. I don't know if it's a plug or not, but our system is a little bit redundant, right? We have the House and we have the Senate. Why do we have to have both? Don't talk to me about Nebraska right now, but because they just have one in the Senate. But so in that process, we can get the questions and answers from the House side, or we'll have questions and answers as well. But maybe you spend more time, maybe we spend where it's just less time. But there's an opportunity to change it, modify it, learn about it.
That we've talked about some of those other segments.
Good.
Yep, we brought those up before.
Those can be challenging as well. Strike afters and never, but that's another topic, right? But no. So I think the process, a plug for the process is if something were unintended consequences, that's the worst, right? Nobody wants to pass along, well, that's not what we meant. Well, we go back and we'll fix it. So that's why we're here. And so, but also the process is you hopefully kind of catch some of those things.
Now, there are some things that you can do over in the Senate that isn't done in the House, right?
Oh, yes. That's a big one. Sorry, I should have put that at the top. One of the things is, and it actually is starting this week, governor appointments. So the Senate has the power to approve or deny appointees from the governor, certain appointees. Some of them are hired department heads, but so the larger category, I wouldn't call it the cabinet, but it's kind of like that. It's the best definition. And you have to have 34 votes. So, and there are 20, how many? There are 32 over there, Republicans and whatever the other is. I just deal with a certain set of numbers. We have 18. And they have one member who's serving in the armed forces now, so he's not present. But so kind of doing the math, basically, they have to, if three of our folks don't support somebody, or yeah, they have to have 34 yes votes, put it that way. I'm getting confused on the math here because I'm thinking about 5 things at once.
That's always when we're here.
Thank you. But with 18 Democrats present in the Senate, if 3 of us don't support it, then they don't have enough to get to the numbers. If all of us go against and they don't peel off 3, then we can stop somebody. I think I made that more complicated than it is, but that is the one power we have. If we had 17 Democrats, we wouldn't have that power. They could just do it without us. So and then just a little bit of political side of this, we can't and we shouldn't go against every governor appointment. So we want to pick and choose those that we want to send a message on, and that process just started at the end of March right now. So and last year, because of the abbreviated COVID session, we had a group of folks that were called the interim or holdover appointees, and they just passed a rule that said, we'll deal with it next year. So the first thing we're doing right now is we're kind of getting caught up from last year. Next week, maybe the week after, we'll deal with the new ones. And let's say, without maybe going into all the details of any particular candidate or office of appointee, we want to make sure, are they fit for the job, or will they work with us? And this is the power that we have, so they need to be responsive to us, even in the minority. That is a minority right that is good for the whole society. And then maybe one last point, the best example of something to do is contact every senator who has a vote, which is all of us, not just those that you think will go with you or that are on the committee. Sure, start with those because they're going to be focused on you, but don't leave anybody out. And I won't name this person's name, but this person contacted me. He contacted me at the Capitol. He met with me here, answered all my questions, and he was from the opposite party, but he answered all my questions. He was accessible, and I voted for him. Absolutely. And so that's a strong example. So I want to make that generic and not use the person's name, but that's how it should go. And a lot of times people say, oh, well, of course, you'll just vote for it. No, you need to work us because this is work. Yeah, exactly. So
I have one last question for you, and you might not have an answer for it, but are there any bills that you're excited to get passed that are left for funnel week?
Oh, well, actually, there is one. And it's kind of in this, I don't know where it is yet or right now. It's the housing bill. Housing bill that's out there right now has some tax credit benefit for big developers and tax credit for low income and more moderate homes. And then there's a workforce credit. And there's a credit for, these are different sections of the bill. And there's a section for brownfields and gray fields. And we've got some spots in Cedar Rapids where there was an old factory and they have a kind of a dumping ground, needs to be cleaned up. Otherwise, it's going to stay, it's what's called a brownfield, or if it's a little less than that, a gray field. We incentivize builders to come in, give them tax credits. They will develop that, and then we can build a safe, clean, because they'll clean it up. But it costs so much, we'll incentivize that a housing complex or maybe commercial development. Well, this is for housing, but they could go hand in hand. So and it's bipartisan, right? We will have a 47,000 home shortage in statewide, not just our district, but although we have had a housing issue in our district from derecho and the floods and the economy and
our area.
Exactly, west side. So much, but so that's one I think it's really not partisan. Now, why I say I don't know where it is, because that has gone through the local government committee, it's gone through the Ways and Means committee, and it doesn't have a companion exactly in the Senate, so it's probably going to get worked out in the last minute of this year. That's my guess right now, but I'm excited about that because it's good for everybody.
Awesome. Yeah, sounds like it'll have some positive benefits. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Thank you again for being here.
You're welcome.
And
I appreciate
hopefully
this.
everybody listening online learned something, and thank you, Truly. And I'll see you in a little bit for our next one, Truly. So everybody, I hope you enjoy the rest of your week.